Hello again, day after Boxing Day, resuming work on this kilt. So I'm taking apart the ends of the aprons, and I'm finding that the original tailor had, when you do this blind stitch, and remember I've cautioned against taking too light a bite, as it were, with a needle. And throughout this, I'm finding that the person has barely caught one yarn, and even just the act of using the seam picker to try to gently draw the thread out is causing the thread's rather strong, and it's causing the yarn to pull out. So I've discarded my seam picker in favor of my thread scissors, because yeah, as careful as I am, I'm still risking drawing the yarn out. So I'm just going to carry on with this. I mean, it's beautiful workmanship, but it's again, there's stitching is so light that it's running the risk of harming the cloth. Okay. You can see something else here. You can see this lint which is collected in the pocket of where the lining had been. So any forensic investigators out there, this is a record of possibly a potential or possibly a fairly complete record, I don't know, of dust and therefore locations that this kilt has been in. So I'll have to get this out with my lint brush. Incidentally, these lint brushes with the sort of Velcro-y like hooks on them are the way to go. I see other ones that are lint rollers that have a sticky sheet that you roll across the cloth, and I really don't like those because there's too great a chance of some of the stickum, some of the adhesive being left behind on the cloth. So these Velcro ones are the way to go. Okay, back to this. This is a bit worrisome because even with the scissors, there's a chance that I can pull. I got to use the old man zoom. I can't even see what I'm doing here. This, here we are. It's very delicate workmanship, but at least it's not machine sewn. I find that a bit of a bugger to get apart. I think now that we're down here, we have a more robust stitch, shall we say. You're stitching to more than a single yarn. And this cloth is quite old too, and you never know where how friable the cloth. Well, friable is not exactly the word, but how fragile the cloth will be. So I have to proceed with caution when unpicking a seam. And this is something I've seen elsewhere, where on the inside apron, as you can see, they folded up the cloth at the bottom outside end of the apron, to almost certainly to prevent the bottom of the inside apron from peeking out from under the outside apron. But I don't consider this necessary, because really all you have to do is, when you put your kilt on and you see the inner apron end visible, you just give the top end a bit of a twitch up, and it's situation taken care of. Okay. Again, very fine stitches, very old cloth. Actually, I'm going to leave that for a second. How's this stitch going to go? So we had a few friends by yesterday, it being Boxing Day. So we had a bit of a levy. I made some apple brose. You can find that in a couple of my other videos of making the celebratory sort of New Year's drink, sort of hogmanay drink. I don't really celebrate New Year's as such, but given that Boxing Day, the 26th, is the first day after the solstice, that the sun starts coming back, basically, because for about 4 or 5 days there, from the solstice, the sunrise and sunset didn't change. And then just looking at my weather app, I saw that Boxing Day was the first day where sunrise was a minute or 2 minutes later than the day before, and sunset likewise was 2 minutes later, which means that the sun's actually coming back. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the new year, the start of the new year. Yeah, I'm as pagan as hell. And besides, New Year's parties, there's tons of competition. New Year's Day, people have their own rituals and celebrations, or they're simply too hungover to do anything. So I have friends over on Boxing Day, and we put on a bit of a feed, charcuterie and good cheeses, sort of treat food, as opposed to the plain food we usually eat. Okay, so there we have. Okay, no shame here. I'm just gonna have to use the old man zoom, because sometimes often I can rely on the feel of the yarn, or of the thread, as it passes along the point, the tip of the seam ripper. But some of these, because yes, the feel of the silk or the cotton thread feels different than yarn. But at the same time, the stitching is so fine that there's too great a chance of me accidentally severing a yarn instead of severing the thread. Oh, look at you, I can't see what's going on there. There's still a knot, a gathering of cloth, but I can't see. Let's see if this helps. Let's clean up the inside as well. Yeah. Okay, I can see a bit more now. But not enough to... Oh, I see what's happened. Somebody used a different color of thread. I've been looking for the wrong color of thread. It's also a finer thread. Okay. That's about got it. Okay, there we are. Pardon me. And I've managed to do it. Yeah. Your teeth, in the absence of a set of tweezers, your teeth will do instead. There we go. Okay, good. That's the inner apron. I'm just going to put my thread scissors up. I'm going to take that thing off because I don't like it. Now I'm going to unpick. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to unpick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Interesting, because this kilt had 2 extra pleats on this side. I've unpicked 2 pleats. Nope, wrong. Just one. There's the apron. There's 1 pleat. So I'll unpick this apron seam and this pleat seam, and that will give us a thread, a pleat count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 20, 12, 1, 24. Wrong. Sorry, 25. And then from there, I'll start unpicking these pleats. Now, unfortunately, it's got they've run a sewing machine, a machine sewn seam along the top, which I don't see as strictly necessary. It just complicates the disassembly a little bit. Okay. Now in this case, because I am going to be shortening the kilt, but actually in any case, if I'm unpicking seams, I stop at pleat seams. I start at the top, because any inadvertent damage, as careful as I may be, if there is a bit of cloth damage, we're committing it at the top edge, where that damage can be repaired by overstitching and then covered by the top band. If you damage the cloth down at the bottom, it's the bottom of the fell, it's going to be quite a different story, isn't it? Okay. And once again, these stitches are beautifully done, but they're also so fine that they're not catching quite enough of the cloth, in my opinion. So I'm proceeding with care so that I don't wreck the cloth. Come on. Come on. You have to take another trip to the to my supplier to find a polished cotton thread that matches this. It matches the threads that I'm picking out, because I do not have that color of thread in my stock at present. Okay, that's a bit of a disappointment. This has been sewn twice. As you can see, I'm unpicking the apron seam, but this pleat has been sewn down to the cloth, and then they've sewn a second seam, and that's really not necessary. You can do you can bring these together and sew it in one seam instead of 2. I've seen this a couple of times before, so I'm not going to get super critical about it, but I just don't think it's necessary. Come on. Come on. Coming up to the bottom of the fell. Okay, there's too great a chance that I'm gonna, okay, that's a thread. Where are you? Okay, dignity aside, let's make sure we're getting a thread. There we go. Good. Now I'm going to unpick this one, and again we've got a machine seam there that really is annoying. I mean, I know it's a quick way to run, and a temptation, it's a quick seam to run a sewing machine along there, but I don't like it because, okay, I might be wrong. There is a bit of give there, even with the machine sewn seam. So, okay, because my dislike of it was a hand sewn seam, I know will give a little bit, but what I'm seeing with this machine seam is they have at least an equal amount of give. You can see it'll still stretch out a little bit. Okay. I'm less annoyed about the machine sewn seam than I was, but I'm still a bit annoyed because I still have to unpick the bugger. Okay. No. Come on. Oh, this is bad. I'm nicking the cloth at the same time. Okay, casting dignity to the winds. Is there any? Okay, that's a visible thread. Right. I dropped my seam picker. Hang on a minute. Where'd you go, you wee thing? There we are. Right, again, casting dignity to the winds. Let's find that. The seam. Oh, okay, I see the problem. There's two seams here. There's the top seam, and there seems to be a second seam underneath it. What's happening there? I've never seen that before. Okay. Can't quite see what they've done or understand why they've did it. Perhaps it was a baste, because again, when we disassemble this, I'm going to mark each of these so that I can, because when I press it out, of course, I can't count on remembering what each pleat is centered on. But perhaps as we proceed with this unpicking, we'll learn more about the thought processes of the person that sewed it. Okay. You know, something else I'm going to do. Come on. I'm going to take a picture, because in addition to this pleating, I need to know the place on the cloth that this pleat was brought to. No, I don't, because I'm going to be unpicking that seam as well, and that will be the last pleat as opposed to this one. So I don't need to mark this one. I need to mark the next one. Okay. Stream of consciousness quilt making. Come on. Okay, sorry. Old man zoom again. Can't be helped. Funny, I've spent most of my life bitterly cursing my nearsightedness. But you can see, okay, yeah, look. Is that a steeking? Is that the stitching I'm encountering? No, see, there's no real steeking here. Oh, there's a bit. Right? This is not what I would consider proper steeking. And I haven't cut this loose, so yeah, that could have been handled better. That property should have a better steeking job than it's got. But even so, it's complimenting things for me. Or complicating, not complimenting. Jesus. I really can't. Oh, I can see the knot. I can see the knot. But I can't see the thread. Oh, there we go. Pull it around to the back and look at it from the inside, basically. But even so, it's the choice of thread color is so well done. I'm still not completely sure when the temptation is to just trust to luck and push it through, but that is too great a chance, an unacceptable chance that I'm gonna sever. I'm gonna have damaged the cloth. Okay. Oh, you clever person. Okay, I've been looking at the green cloth, but there's a green thread that with which they sewed the pleat. But there's a black thread in here. Okay, there we go. There was a black thread in there, which I assume is their version of steeking. I'm just gonna attack this next one from the inside. Yep, that's the right one. Yeah. I'm being fairly ginger as I tug the cloth. Because if it was new cloth, you know, from decades of experience, I have a pretty good idea of how hard I can tug it, right? But this cloth is possibly a little bit fragile, almost certainly a little bit fragile due to its age. So I'm just being a bit more cautious. I mean, up here, because the top of the kilt is going to be here, up here I could experiment a bit by reefing and sort of testing it to destruction, but I'm not going to do so. I'm not in such a hurry that I need to ascertain what the breaking strain is of the cloth. I can carry on slowly. Ow! Just ran that under my fingernail. Ouch. Oh, okay, I see what they've done. When they were sewing, and I've seen this before, you see that seam is also sewn there, is that they've folded two pleats. So in this case, they would have folded this pleat to its position, folded this pleat to its position, and then sewn here. And I've seen that elsewhere, and I believe that it's an attempt to strengthen, I should say, these seams, because if you're only using a narrow strip of canvas like that between the buckles, the rest of the fell seams aren't supported. And again, these seams are not strong in tension. So by sewing one pleat on top of it, well, two pleats, so folding two pleats, sewing there, folding another pleat, sewing there. So you're sewing through extra layers of cloth. It's an attempt to create a stronger seam. But we're not going to do that, because when I recanvas this, we're going to be using my 5-inch wide strip of canvas, which again spreads the tension over a wider area, a wider footprint, and removes the need to double sew like this. So let's go on the end. Oh, I see too. We've also got the end of the canvas strip here. Now, I'm not going to re-employ this in the kilt, because it's really not necessary given my, dare I say it, superior canvas technique. Yeah, see, there it is again. There's this seam is also sewing through this fold, which is vaguely annoying. And I can see the knot right there. See? I'm going to sever that knot because it annoys me. I'm going to have to sever it later anyway. Okay. Right, so there are my new first and last pleats. Now again, I'm going to be taking all of these apart, but what I'm going to do now is I can see that it was sewn. Where's my backing strip? I want to record the point that this seam was sewn to, because this being the last pleat, the apron will, I'm just doing it very cheap and cheerful right now, I'm just pulling it over, but so when I resew this kilt, this pleat will be brought to that point, so I have to record that point. I'm going to run a strip of thread along it, because when I resew this kilt, there's the apron. I'm going to be sewing one seam connecting 1, 2, 3 pieces of, well, it's the same piece of cloth, but you get what I mean. Sewing pleat, backing piece, which apron. I'm going to do that one go, but I have to record where this fold comes to. So, thinking quickly, let's grab, yeah. Okay, so this one, the bottom of the fell is now going to be down here, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is to show where this new seam will be. Now I see a tiny bit of wear right there. I can't think of a way to repair that. That won't be more noticeable. I could darn it, so in the same way that one darns the socks. Do anybody darn socks anymore? But I could darn that. But it certainly wouldn't be any less visible than what we have there now. I'll take a look at it after I've. Okay, where's the top of my? Actually, I can back up a bit here, because this is the top of the kilt to there. So I will do a back stitch there, because there's no point recording that, because that piece of cloth is coming off. Yep, I'll just do a couple back stitches so it doesn't fall out. And shouldn't do that. Right. So now let's go back here to the first pleat. Okay, I'll have to come back and get in here with there's some damn near, at least in my old eyes, damn near invisible stitching there, but I can feel, not there, but I can feel knots where the stitching was started. So I'm gonna have to go in there and again employ the old man zoom and get in there, possibly with the seam picker, possibly with a very fine needle, just to tease out the lump that I feel there, because once you feel something like that, you can never unfeel it, so to speak. Because I want that to lie flat on the finished garment. Okay, so here's our first pleat. The bottom, the new top of the kilt is going to be there, which is just as well, because we can see they really butchered this. And that's a relative term. I mean, there's no way, or at least, well, there is a way, there's always a way. But they obviously didn't imagine that one day in the distant future, somebody would be doing an alteration such as this, because I don't know of anyone else who I won't say can do, that's a bit of hubris. I don't know anyone else who takes the time to do these profound alterations. Okay, let's get this seam started. Come on. But again, if I go inside, right? Where are you? Okay, there's a thread. Yeah, the stitching's more visible on the inside. Again, the person who sewed this was quite an artist. Because the stitching's all but invisible on the outside, even with, close inspection, and I mean really close, like my nose pressed against the cloth close. But it's rather more easy to see on the inside. So there you go. You and I have just learned something new. How are we looking? Oh yeah, hey, look at that. That came apart nicely. Now I can proceed a little quicker on the outside. And here's the thing, you need to be as careful as can be, even in places where it doesn't seem to matter. Okay, so there's our first pleat. Right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the center of this pleat. And I'm going to do it the same way throughout the pleats. So there we are. So you can't see it against, possibly can't see it very well against the white line, but I've just sewn a back stitch, a long stitch, and a back stitch. And now I'm just going to carry on for the rest of the 25 pleats, and with each, again, right, just another back stitch. There we are. Yeah, so I'm going to carry on now. You don't need to sit and watch me do the entire thing, but I'm going to take apart each one of these seams and mark the center of each of these pleats, because eventually I'm going to press them, and any chalk marks I've made, of course, the pressing would remove the chalk instantly. But having taken these apart before I press it, before I press it flat, while the creases are still here, I'm going to play with it and make notes about how this person pleated this, because again, this is generally, I'm dismissive of other pleating methods, but this pleating method works to produce, to basically pleat to the half set, which is something I've heard of but never actually considered, never actually done. I don't know how it's done. So this is where I get to learn, and by extension you get to learn, I hope. But yeah, so I don't think you need to see me carrying on with the whole thing. We've seen the first couple. I'll tune in a little bit later. I think my next episode will be when this is picked apart and we've marked the center of the pleats, and we can puzzle out together. Realistically, I'm going to spend some time beforehand so that I'm actually not thinking with my mouth, which can be embarrassing. But in the next episode, yeah, we will take a look with these recording marks. We'll take a look and come to understand how this was pleated, because this is exciting and new to me. Okay, happy day after Boxing Day, and I'm going to carry on. Talk to you later.